Okay, we've all been taught a very specific sequence for getting ahead in life, right? Go to school, work hard, get the stuff. But what if the formula we've all been handed is completely backwards? Today, we're diving into this explainer to completely reframe how we approach personal transformation and sustainable success. We are basically going to tear down the old, exhausting way of operating and look at the exact structural framework for growth that the world's highest achievers use to create incredible results, all without destroying themselves in the process.
Now, what's really interesting about this quote right here is that it perfectly captures the universal pain point for so many ambitious leaders and founders. You've definitely seen it. The entrepreneur who scales their business at lightning speed, hires the massive team, gets all the press, and then they just quietly collapse. They get everything they said they wanted, but with each new milestone, they just feel emptier. We literally see people building their entire lives on a foundation of sheer stress and willpower, thinking it makes them tough. But actually, it just makes them incredibly fragile.
So why does this happen so predictably? We see it all the time, this quiet suffering from complete burnout, even after hitting massive goals. Well, in business and in life, we are trained to think strictly linearly. Set a goal, execute on it, measure the results, rinse and repeat. But that totally ignores the actual human engine driving the whole operation. We focus entirely on what we want to acquire, and we completely bypass the single most important question: who do we actually need to become to hold on to it?
And so, we fall right into a psychological trap. We end up running on this endless clock, constantly confusing motion with actual fulfillment. We chase the funding, we chase the big promotions, the relationships, genuinely believing that acquiring these external things will finally give us peace or finally make us feel capable. But this mindset breeds a hidden, really dangerous dependency. Your confidence becomes entirely conditional on your external environment.
Let's get right into Section 1, Victim versus Worker Mentality.
Okay, so this exhaustion we were just talking about, it stems from two fundamentally flawed mentalities that basically guarantee we either fail to launch entirely or we burn out trying. First, check out the victim mentality. This is the have, do, be model. This is the person who says, well, once I finally have more time or more money, then I'll do the work and finally I will be a success. They are perpetually stuck waiting for the outside world to change. Then you have the worker mentality, the do, have, be trap. This is the person grinding 80 hours a week thinking, if I just do more, I'll have more stuff and then I'll be happy. But you know how it goes, the finish line just keeps moving. Both of these models are structurally flawed because they rely on external validation to unlock internal peace. It is literally putting the cart before the horse.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Winner's Framework.
Let's look at a completely different psychological sequencing. This is the be, do, have model. And let me be super clear right up front. This is absolutely not spiritual fluff. This is foundational psychology. The flawed trap has you waiting around for the world to accommodate you. But the winner mentality demands that you cultivate your internal identity, your state of being first. Because here's the secret. When you change who you are being, it naturally alters your behavior, which in turn completely alters your external circumstances.
So what do we mean by being? It's your internal identity. It is a state of mind that aligns with your unconscious mind to effortlessly drive your behavior. And notice I specifically said the unconscious mind. That's that deep neurological programming where you first have to become the person capable of the outcomes you want. You can't just consciously think yourself into higher production or better health. Conscious thinking is just a surface-level function. The real, raw power is housed entirely in your unconscious identity.
Moving on to Section 3, Aligning the Unconscious Mind.
Now you might be wondering, why does starting from the inside out actually prevent burnout? Well, it all comes down to basic neuroplasticity. Neuroscience completely confirms what this model teaches. Your unconscious identity shapes your behavior, and your behavior creates your outcomes, period. When you focus only on the do or the have, you are completely skipping the unconscious rewiring of beliefs that's absolutely required to sustain high performance over time. You are basically trying to run brand new software on a totally broken operating system. You have to wire your brain for the outcome you want by first being that person internally.
And listen, this isn't just theory. This is the literal operating system utilized by the world's elite operators. We're talking top-tier CEOs, organizational leaders, brilliant entrepreneurs, and world-class athletes. They absolutely do not just act like champions, hoping to get a trophy so they can finally feel good about themselves. No way. They operate from a place of already being the champion internally. Their actions are just a natural, inevitable byproduct of that rock-solid identity.
Just take, for example, a 4-time Olympic diver.
This specific athlete actually lost 2 whole days of crucial training time while traveling to the Beijing Olympics. His competition was literally 2 days ahead of him when he landed. But you know what? He didn't panic. Why? Because a 4-time Olympian doesn't perform just to have a medal. Their true commitment is anchored entirely in an uncompromising identity. His actions flowed naturally from unconditionally being a champion in his unconscious mind every single day. And that allowed him to make up that lost time effortlessly.
All right, let's head into Section 4, the power of self-integrity.
500%. Take a second to really look at that number. This reveals the true, raw power of one of the most critical ways of being, self-integrity.
A study out of Harvard Business School by Michael Jensen found that keeping your word to yourself, meaning true self-integrity, can actually increase your personal productivity by up to 500%. Think about that for a second. Most of us will bend over backwards to keep our word to our boss, our friends, our family, right? But the minute we tell ourselves we're going to wake up early or hit the gym, boom, we hit snooze, we lie to ourselves. And by doing that, we unconsciously train our brains to believe our own words have zero value. But when your unconscious identity is rooted in absolute self-integrity, meaning you actually do what you tell yourself you're going to do, your output just explodes. You become 500% more effective, and you didn't even have to add a single extra hour to your day.
I love this phrase. You don't achieve success, you align with it. Because when you finally align your unconscious identity, your self-integrity, and your daily actions, success completely stops being this frantic, exhausting chase. Instead, it becomes something you just naturally attract. You stop forcing things to happen. You don't achieve success by merely grinding it out until you drop. You align with it through who you are being.
It's really helpful to think of it like building a house. Your identity, your being, that's the absolute foundational block. Your actions, the doing, those are just the wooden framework built on top of it. And your outcomes, the haves, are just the roof. If that foundation is weak, if you haven't done the unconscious rewiring to become the person who can sustain success, the entire structure is going to collapse the second there's a little pressure. But if the foundation is solid, the house practically builds itself.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really ponder before you dive into your next project or step into your next big meeting. Seriously, stop asking what you need to do today or what you want to have by the end of this year. Instead, ask yourself this: who do you need to be today? Just pick one characteristic. Is it calm, bold, integral? Because your answer to this single question is going to define absolutely everything that follows. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.